Good morning. It's Monday morning. I am in beautiful old Westport, the original downtown of Kansas City. This intersection was where the city actually started. And my microphone sounds like ass because I accidentally left my mic for this device in my pants when I changed my pants and didn't switch it over, so I have to rectify that when I get home. Oh, it looks like it's starting to try and do some precipitation too. Great. We're gonna go for a walk, right, Mr. Jimmy, hey. And some of my goals for today, excuse me, I've been working on my studio in a box, and oh look, there's a doggy. Stella, it's your evil twin. You got the dog's attention. Alright, you have to wait a second. My dogs have never seen a dog before in their lives. Just like they don't eat anything and they never get any love or attention. So anyway, yeah, I'm working on the studio in a box, and I'm getting it ready to do some podcasts, and I want to get with my friend Carrie. I know a lot of Carries lately, and propose to her that we do podcasts out of 18th and Vine to start and see how it goes, and see if we can get people interested in it and sponsoring it and all that good stuff. I'm looking at the freelance boards, and we'll see how that goes, see if I can start bringing in money that way. And the herbs, it's starting to get a little bit of something going. I'm working on this PSA, anti-violence PSA, and I'm trying to get it. I've got people excited about it. It's not my idea. It's actually Carrie's. She just didn't know how to go about it, and I said, okay, here's what we can do, and I showed her, and okay. So we got it rolling. We did a shoot on it on Friday. Yesterday, there was an opportunity I had my gimbal out, and I was walking around, and there were police presence downtown. They had it turned out it was a fight had happened in an apartment building downtown. I went up with my gimbal. Unfortunately, there aren't too many ways you can be really subtle about it. I was trying to be subtle, but the cop was all about it. He didn't like it. He's, what are you doing? And I tried to tell him, well, you don't do that. And I'm like, I'm a citizen on a public street. I can shoot video. And it didn't go off very well. I understand the cop's position, but the excuse he made was bad, that he has a computer in his car, which they all do, a laptop computer, and it had private information, and he doesn't want me shooting his car because I'm like, no, that's not a good excuse. And first off, nobody can see your computer from outside the car. The windows are tinted. Secondly, if it comes down to that, just close the computer, and a lot of cops do that when media is present if they don't want people shooting their computers. But that's never been an issue before. That is just a lousy excuse. There are groups out there right now who are going out and making it a point of shooting police officers with smartphones and stuff. And a lot of these people are kind of acting as agent provocateurs. They're trying to get a First Amendment issue pushed out. And really what they're doing is they're getting in the police faces and interrupting their investigation. What I would advise the police to do is to be polite and tell them kindly, you're welcome to shoot video, but please don't interfere with my investigation. Just step back a little bit and then I can come by later and answer any questions that you may have. And that way they're open and polite, and they don't get, what these people want is the cops to get angry. That's what they're pushing for. And when the cops get angry, they feed the beast. And you don't want to do that. And, unfortunately, police are in the public's eye. They may be camera shy, they may not like it, but they're in the public's eye, and they're public officials, and when they're out in the public eye, they have to practice. Each and every police officer has to practice a little bit of common sense public relations. And getting angry and getting in people's faces and yelling and all that stuff, it's not professional, and it's not going to serve their ends. And in the end, it's going to get them and their department in a lot of hot water. And when police are pushing for things, there's a site out there about the First Amendment, and essentially what these people are doing is they're getting in police officers' faces with cameras and pushing their buttons, and then yelling, "Look, they're violating the First Amendment." Well, that's not necessarily true either, but it's something we have to deal with, and I wasn't one of those people. I'm actually trying to get some B-roll of police lights and things like that so I could put it in this PSA, which is an anti-violence thing. And anyway, so we're gonna go for a walk, and no harm, no foul. I was probably just as much at fault. I didn't really explain myself very well. I kind of stumbled around. I'm just a goof with a video camera. But doggies and I shall go for a walk, or at least we'll try. It's still a little nippy out there. You see that? It's sleeting. Fun stuff. Sleet is... I don't know if sleet was actually called for in the forecast, but we haven't. Maybe it's just a brief spit and then it'll stop. You can get up here on old US 40, otherwise known as the Victory Highway. It's Auto Trail's name. US 40 and Blue Springs. This is heading into Independence and eventually into Kansas City. This truck is not going to be able to... Yeah, well, thought he was doing a U-E, but he made it. So anyways, I'm heading home. Try and get some stuff done. Something interesting. I love this Blue Springs bowl sign. Googie. If anything interesting happens, I'll be back. US 40 at one time was the main east-west highway coming into Kansas City. Literally, in many ways, the Route 66 of Kansas City. And it's seen better days. You see a lot of kind of run down everything, poverty, boarded up businesses. It's a shame, really. I don't know, I heard someone say that US 40 never really was much as far as, you know, any kind of greatness, but who knows, maybe somebody else would tell me differently. It stopped sleeting. Now it's not doing anything. It's just cloudy, probably cold. You might get, I don't think it's gonna get too cold. It might get warmer. There's an interesting interchange up here. It's like a 5-way intersection. Was this Van Brunt and Raytown Road and US 40. It's not the greatest of neighborhoods. A lot of robberies and crime in this area. The VA is, the Veterans Administration is over to the left. It's a big veterans hospital. And some of the hotels, motels cater to Chiefs business. You know, the Arrowhead Stadium, and I guess Royals too. You know, people come from out of town, want to stay at somewhere that's fairly inexpensive to stay. Now we're coming into the eastern part of Kansas City, and we'd love to see more jobs and more growth and more good businesses coming into this area. Improve everybody's lives. Fortunately, that hasn't been the history of this area for a long time. But coming into more urbanized areas, and here's Wild Woodies to the left. Happy Foods. I'm not exactly sure of the history of Wild Woodies, except that I think there's a kind of a chain of them, and there's a few that still exist. It's kind of a local, this one is a locally owned grocery store. And there was one on Nolan Road in Independence before that area became developed. I think the land became too valuable. We used to love to go to Wild Woodies all the time. It was like a variety shop, and it was great. You could get anything there. I remember Cousin Jed's Guitar Shed, like a cheap music store. Not so cheap, but cheap enough. But I mean, it was just all sorts of oddball. It was like a flea market, except individual people own businesses. And anyway, I got some sort of blinky lights going on up here. Maybe I can add to my collection. It sounds ghoulish, doesn't it? I'm looking for blinky lights to put in a PSA. I don't know if this technically has anything to do with violence or what. It looks like an accident. It's like a pretty, I don't know, bad accident. I don't know what's going on here. Just a fender bender. Anyway, life in the city. Woohoo! Oh, isn't that cute? Buddha is cuddling up with the dogs, and they're sort of tolerating it. Jimmy doesn't know what's going on here. Hey, Buddha, you find some friends? Buddha? Meow. So, this is a project that I'm working on for the afternoon. It's a mass of spaghetti. You can see the action camera here and the action camera here follow the wires. Got my SDI adapters. You can run 300 feet of cable. Has to be the right kind of cable, has to be the extra thick. I got a little video snake, and it's running into the back of my box here. That's the police scanner you're hearing. There's the front of the switcher, and there's those two cameras. There's that one, there's the other one. Oops, excuse me. And the other two are this one right here, another action camera, and my HDV camera, which is old, but it's actually got a beautiful picture. And it's actually the only video out it has is component out, sort of an arcane system. So that's why I have this component to SDI. The SDI cable is running into the switcher. And there is the other cat. He's being antisocial. Excuse me. Actually, he's adopted my office chair as his favorite chair. I have to shoo him out every time I want to sit down. And I think I've done enough damage for one day, and maybe tomorrow I'll try and do some actual podcasting. Hook up the other two cameras maybe. Or I actually have 3 cameras that I can hook up and a computer. And that makes for 8 inputs. So fancy.